Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I am your host. And today I'm here with Teresa Wagonseller, and she is a CPA and she is a fractional CFO, and she has a lot of information. And so, if you are thinking, I need help with managing my finances and my business, then Teresa is the woman that you want to listen to. So, without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to us, Teresa?
Of course, sure. Well, thank you for having me on your show. I've very much been looking forward to this. I have two daughters that are, excuse me, in their 30s, and one of them just had a baby, so new mom. So I'm very excited. Hopefully, I can share some valuable or meaningful things to young moms or moms with kids. Just from the perspective of I've kind of been there, done that. And now I'm the grandmother, which is even more fun. So I am a CPA. I started out in public accounting about 30 years ago. Did tax work. I was a tax manager, specializing in corporate partnership taxation for over 300 clients, and did that for about 9 or 10 years. And then I decided one day I can't see myself doing tax work the rest of my life. So I sold my practice and went into the industry, and I spent the next 20 25 years climbing the corporate ladder, which I loved the journey. That was exciting, and working in various different industries for different types of businesses, anything from manufacturing, wholesale, retail, service. The last few companies I've worked for are fintech, SaaS companies in the Houston, Austin area. So I have a lot of, and marketing and advertising. I worked for a marketing and advertising agency for 8 or 9 years, which that was fun. That was my first intro into the corporate world after leaving tax work. So it was a complete whole different environment, like a complete 360. So I think, and then after about, I guess a little over a year ago, I decided that I was tired of the corporate world and I wanted to make another change. So I went off and started my own practice, and I am a fractional CFO. I work for small business owners. My goal is to give them the same type of financial expertise that large corporations get with chief financial officers, but at a fraction of the cost, so they can afford one, because every business needs somebody managing their money matters, their financials. Every company, every business needs it.
Yes. And I think that if you look at how you spend your personal finances, that will probably reflect on how you spend your business finances. And usually, most people are not very good at that, which is why they need someone like you, right?
That's exactly right. That's one of the main things I like to tell people. It's interesting to me how your personal business matters or personal money matters carry over into how you handle your money matters in your business, your financials in your business. And two, not everybody that goes into business has been trained or taught or whatever it is to understand the money matters or the financials of their business. And so that's challenging for small business owners or any business owners as well.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very true. So for the listeners that don't know, what is a fractional CFO?
So fractional CFO is simply, fractional is a fancy word for saying part-time. And a CFO is a chief financial officer. They manage the company's finances through forecasting, budgeting, strategic planning, and tracking profits, cash flow. They basically make sure that the company's healthy, financially healthy, and that the finances are on track to meet the company's goals.
Okay. So what size of business? Because I spoke with somebody, well, he always talks about how he builds his business, and he builds his business to about 60% to where he can hire his C-suite and then he can move forward. At what point should a business be considering a fractional CFO?
Well, I've learned that I've worked with companies anywhere from under $1 million to the last companies I worked for in Houston were multi-million, billion-dollar fintech companies. And so in my mind, the sweet spot or the perfect size of a company that should be looking for a chief financial officer is between 1 million and 5 million in annual revenues. I think that's a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to work really well. And they've usually been in business for a few years, mm-hmm, to the point where they know they need help. And that's a good place to start. I think once you get past 5 million or upwards towards 10 million, that's where the C-suite, I think, comes in to play most efficiently and most effectively, because at that point, you might have a chief financial officer that's putting together a strategic plan for you financially on how to reach your goals and how to, grow your business. But because it's still a single owner, they're having trouble or struggling with executing that plan. And that's where a C-suite can come in and be very effective. A chief operations officer, for example, can come in, and if we're struggling with the operations of our company being profitable from that standpoint, they can execute, the strategic plan to help increase profits. And a chief revenue officer, if we're struggling with sales, whether it's getting leads, conversion rate, retention rate, whatever it is, we put together the plan and they can help execute that plan with the sales force, the sales team. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've recently added a C-suite service to my fractional CFO service. And it works in that order. I come in first and put together a strategic plan from a financial perspective, and then bring in my two colleagues that are operations and revenue to help execute those plans as we go.
That is fantastic. That's
Yes.
great. And I think people need to understand that a CFO is not a bookkeeper.
Right.
Yeah, because that's something totally different, and it doesn't require your training and expertise.
Right. Well, they don't want to pay me to do their bookkeeping and their accounting. So I've actually built up a network of resources. So because I do, a lot of times I pick up these small companies or these small businesses, and the first thing they ask me is, because I'm a CPA, I guess, can you help me with my taxes? I know my bookkeeping's a mess, or it's not in order. Can you help me get that together? So I've acquired some resources that work with me. And if that's the case, then I can outsource that work to some colleagues of mine, and I oversee it. And then I do the chief financial officer part with it. So I've learned to use my resources to take care of the clients. Yes.
And look at you, you're scaling up. See, you're doing exactly what
yes.
Yes, people do as well.
I've helped a lot of companies scale up as we grew and as I worked with them. So very familiar with that process. I can definitely help small companies scale up as well by utilizing resources and surrounding yourselves with experts. I always say, you're a small business. If you want to grow, try to think bigger. Think about how the large companies do it, how the big companies do it. They have a chief officer in every area of their business, from operations, revenue, finances, you name it. Mm-hmm. And that way the owner or the CEO gets to actually work on the business and do what they went into business to do on their service or their craft or whatever it is.
That's great. Well, let's switch gears. Okay. Let me ask, is there anything else you'd like to talk about professionally?
I don't think so. I'm excited to switch gears and talk about how, surprisingly, I don't know if everybody realizes, but how much our personal lives and our business lives are similar in so many ways.
Oh my gosh. See, we're on the same page. I actually just talked about that, because as I'm switching gears, yes, everyone hears me talk about being the realtor, being the lender, but the book that I wrote talks about flipping the iceberg, which is relationships. So before we get into that real quick, what is one thing you wish you would have known that you know now starting your business?
One thing I wish I would have known. Well, I can tell you this. When I started out in my 20s, I got my degree, got my CPA license, got everything out of the way before I had kids. We got our first house. We tried to have everything in order as much as possible, and we did. And I had two girls. I had two babies. I think it's 27, 24 and 27. And I was in public accounting doing tax work. And I thought, I'm going to go into practice for myself. So I started my own practice, I think at like 25, I don't remember. And I'm going to work from home and take care of my babies at the same time. I thought that was a perfect plan, and I couldn't have been more wrong. So that would have been something I wish I would have known, or somebody would have told me. It's going to be a lot harder than you think. First of all, owning your own business, there's a lot more that goes into it than just what you went into business to do. And trying to do that at home and taking care of two small babies it was almost impossible. I didn't even know how I did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's something I wish I would have known in my 20s. I wish I would have had a mentor or somebody that had been there, done that could have told me, well, let's think about this and let's consider this.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good.
I probably would have made a different decision.
Okay. So would you have put him in daycare, or would you have like gone into the office for a few hours and like?
I think I would have gone to work for a business, for a company as an employee.
Okay.
Because in doing that, you eliminate everything but just the work you're hired to do. Right. And you're outside of the house. Back then it was, because we didn't get to work remote when I had little kids, and so you're outside the house, and you have to say there has to be some separation there. I think that was the hardest thing, was there was never any true separation between work and family. It was all commingled. And trying to focus on tax returns and that kind of work, it was extremely difficult to focus and be efficient with my work, because I was constantly going back and forth with kids and tax returns and kids and tax returns.
And then you get interrupted and you forget where you left off and you have to go back.
Start over. Yes.
Yeah. See, that's something where we don't talk about that a lot as an entrepreneur and a mom who stays at home, because you are absolutely right. I had this conversation with my husband literally last night, and I said, okay, maybe I should just go get a C-suite job, because I can then turn it off and be done. Because my husband's like complaining right now. It's your computer's always in your face. You're always working. You're always married to this or that. And I'm like, actually, I'm not. I used to be, but they're so traumatized from the first early years starting out. But I do have to say, when I did work outside the home, like your house stays clean because nobody's home. And so you come home and you make your dinner, you eat together, and you get ready for bed. Like, it's a much smoother transition. When I'm working, sometimes I think, would my girls be better off hiring a babysitter because they're interacting with them? And granted, I work while they're at school now, but younger, you're right. And that's the trade-off that I don't think people think about is, well, I get calls constantly this year alone from a lot of my clients. Charisse, I'm thinking of becoming a real estate agent. And my first question is why? Because
yeah,
you think that you make all this money, it's glamorous. Let me tell you.
No. My oldest daughter went that route. Yeah. She's done a lot of things. She's a true entrepreneur in every sense of the word. Right. And she's tried almost everything. And she did got a realtor's license and did that for a while. And I watched her and looked at what she was doing, and I was like, oh, who in their right mind would want to do this?
Yeah. It's hours and hours.
It's never ending, and you're always on call for your clients. Yeah. It's crazy.
So let's talk about the relationships then, and being a mom. So what did you want to bring up? Because I know that you had some things that you wanted to talk about.
Well, I just want people to realize that what you do in your personal life, I would just say, find out whatever's working in your personal life. And I speak more so from a financial perspective, but if you have something that's working well in your personal life, carry it over into your business. Do it in your business. If you have something that isn't working right in your personal life as far as finances, or you're not good at, or you don't want to do, or you don't like doing, be mindful of that in your business. Because if you're ignoring your finances or not paying attention to them, or whatever the case in your personal life, you're probably doing the same thing for your business, and it's not going to work in your business either. And the other thing, a little practical tip I would like to let everybody know or tell everybody, cash flow is more important than budgeting, and it's also more fun to do. So first of all, budgeting, nobody likes budgeting. I don't know if anybody likes to prepare a budget and then least of all look at it and try to stick to it. It's just not fun, even in the business world. But cash flow forecasting is, in a sense, managing your money inadvertently through budgeting, but you're managing the inflow and outflow of your cash is what you're doing. So you have to list all of your expenses and all of your, everything that you pay money on it, everything that takes money away from you. You have to list all of those things. And so you see all of them. They're in front of you, and you can see what's going in and out of your personal finances, and see same thing in your business. You can see what's going in and out of your business that way. And a cash flow forecast is just managing your cash flow in the future over a time period is what it is. You just map it out over a time period. And I just think that's easier to do. To me, it's more fun and more challenging to do than to prepare a budget and try to stick with a budget.
But there's always these words, potato, potato, tomato, tomato, the way people say it, and creates emotion behind it. And so when you use the word budget, you're right. It's like restraint, limited, and poor. Like, I mean, I want to think about when they hear the word budget, what does that mean to you? And then when so like sit with that for a second. And now when you hear the word cash flow, what does that mean to you? And like, I get excited because I start thinking it's an infusion of money I get to go spend. I'm kidding, but you shouldn't do that. But when it comes to expenses and stuff, like when you're budgeting all these expenses, but with cash flow, it's like, okay, just making sure I have more coming in than going out, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what you want to see. And the good thing about doing a cash flow forecast is you're tracking what's coming in and what's going out, right? And this applies in personal finances and business finances. And you get to see, okay, I have so much revenue or income coming in. This is what I have to play with. And then you list everything that you're going to be paying out. And this is where all the money is going. So at that point, it's real easy to see, what do I want to spend money on and what do I not? And how much do I have left over at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month? Where am I going to be? So it's a little more, it's like, I don't know if fun's it's fun for me. It may not be fun for everybody, but I love doing cash flow forecast.
That's cool. And that's why you're a fractional CFO.
That's exactly right. My sister's a nurse, and she's like, I don't know how you do that all day, every day. I could never do that. And I'm like, well, I've heard some of the things you do at work, and there's no way I could do that. So
and that's why we have so many different people on this planet to do all the different jobs that people enjoy or don't.
That's exactly right. And you're usually good at what you enjoy doing, right? Everybody is.
Yeah, it is. That's where we have our talents. So how about we switch to being a mom?
Okay.
You mentioned when you first talked about it that it was tough starting out when you decided to open up your own business and you went to work. So how is it now? And I think you're like full circle because now you're the grandma with two wonderful, cute grandchildren. And so when you think about entrepreneurship, does it make it easier to be a mom and a business person now, or is it not?
I think it's definitely changed a lot from when I was younger and I had kids. And now I'm watching my kids with their kids. My youngest one just had her first baby, 6 months old, and she works from home. She's an accountant as well. And she works from home, and her husband, she's the money maker in the marriage. And so they decided that he was going to stay home and be a stay-at-home dad pretty much, and help facilitate her with the baby so she can work. And it works out. He's got the right personality for it, and he's good at it, and he enjoys it. And I look at them and that works for them. And I look at the difference in the times today versus when I was younger. Like that type of scenario, I don't even think was ever even spoken about when my kids were younger.
Mhm.
And I mean, the traditional roles have changed, right? Like, or they've gone away. Like, it's not like it used to be, which is in the work environment is much more family friendly, I
Mhm.
think, today than it was like when I had my babies. I remember when I had my kids, I think I went back to work when they were 3 or 4 weeks old, which was and I look at my daughter and I was like, I don't know how she would have been able to do that. And then I'm like, well, I did it. How did I do that?
Yeah.
Well, I remember it was hard. It was extremely hard. So I think there's a lot of improved um, work and family balance, out there in the work world now. I think for single or not single moms, but for moms with kids trying to work and balance the work family life is extremely difficult, especially if you're self-employed. I think once the kids get into school, it tends to be a little bit easier because then you have that separation, right? You have so much time while they're in school to actually focus on something else without that distraction. And to me, if I would have done it all over again, I would have waited till my kids were in school and then I would have gone self-employed. I think that would have made more sense and not have been as difficult,
Right.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, and I think that the moms who do stay at home, like I see what you're saying, because now that my girls are in school, it gives me time to be able to do some of the things I need to uninterrupted. However, if I need to run to school for something, or if I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I want to go on a field trip like I did last week with my daughter, cleared my schedule and I went on the field trip. And so that gives you the flexibility, but yet you can work from home. So that's a good perspective. Interesting.
Yes. And I think if you're in business for yourself, especially as a mom, I think to try to remember, you don't have to do it all by yourself. Try to surround yourself with some people that can support you and can help you, even mentors and even, outside resources so that you can focus on, I always have this top three that I do. It's what I focus on every day. I have a top three of what I want to get done that day, top three, whatever. It's always pick three things because we all have way too much to do. And especially young moms if they're in a business with them for themselves, you have way more to do than you have time to do it. Everybody does. And so I try to tell my girls, even, focus on what's most important. Pick a top three that you want to get done that day. Focus on that and don't sweat the small stuff. Just take care of the basic. Keep it simple. Try not to do so much. My oldest daughter is an extreme multitasker and she amazes me what all she can do. But then she stresses herself out.
Yeah.
By the end of the week, she's completely stressed and overdone. And she's working on that and trying to manage that. And I think she's getting better. And I know when I was a young mom, I used to think I was Wonder Woman because I could multitask and do all these things and clear thought and just be thinking and doing 5 different things at one time. But you are, at the end of the day, you are stressed out. And try not to overcomplicate. I think a lot of moms don't overcomplicate things. Just stick to the basics, take care of the basics, focus on the basics and what's most important. And I think that helps.
And I think I remember as a young mom, because it's like you're trying to prove that, I don't know, for me, because my
Yeah.
mom, right? Like the things, and now that I look back, like, oh my, how did she do it all? And craziness. And so it's like, oh, I need to compete with my mom, or I need to like show my mom that I'm a good mom too. Like, I don't know what it was because she never even put that on. But it's like, no, you just relax. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you're stressed out and you feel like you have to be the Wonder Woman, like your kids are sensing that too. Here's a good example. You have somebody over, right? During the week, unless you're this clean person, I won't call you the clean freak, but like super organized and you are that superwoman, congratulations. But I'm talking to those that are not. They're the frazzleds. So somebody's going to come over, we'll say on Sunday for dinner or something. And so it's like, okay, you guys, we madly have to clean the whole house and stuff. Like I remember a couple weeks ago, my daughter, I just wanted my house clean. And so she's like, Mom, who's coming over? I'm like, nobody is. I just want my house clean. And so it's like you need to do things for yourself. My sister-in-law, she actually made the comment to somebody because they apologized for, oh, sorry, my house is dirty and I didn't have time to clean it or something. She goes, if it's good enough for your kids, then it's good enough for me. If you're cleaning it for me, then I'm offended because that means I'm more important to you than than your kids are, and that's not okay. And I've
Mm-hmm.
never heard of that before, but I'm like, That's true, you know?
That's a good mindset for sure. A
Yeah.
good, yes. And I also wanted to mention too, the scenario that we were just talking about and describing about being a mom, multitasking and having all these things to do. It's no different than sole proprietor in their own business, right? It's the exact same thing. You're wearing all these hats and doing everything for your business and all this multitasking, and it's stressful. It's overwhelming. It's no different than being a mom and trying to take care of everything. It's the exact same thing. And I try to tell my clients, look, you don't have to do it all. Try to think bigger. Like I said, like the big corporations, how do they get it all done? They have different people. They have experts in different areas taking care of the things that you can't get to, don't like to do, don't want to do, and they outsource. They outsource a lot as well. So try to use your resources. Surround yourself with people that can help you, support you. I didn't have a mom to even compare myself to, or to even tell me or give me guidance or direction. And I think that's one reason why I'm such an advocate of that, because I've learned through work and through my own personal life how valuable that is. And I'm trying to be that kind of a mentor and guidance, to my kids as the mom and the grandmother that I never had.
I love that. One thing that I have not ever spoken about is co-op. I don't know if people are familiar, but if you're building a community because you didn't have or you don't have family around, in my neighborhood, this is something that was really, really good, is that they had a co-op where at the beginning of the year you start out with Monopoly money, but it's $100, right? We'll give you an example. And so you earn money, like you're charged, I think it's $1 per kid an hour. And so you sign up for times where the whole neighborhood comes over to your house to play. And then you can actually, when you need to go run an errand, you can drop them off. So there's a co-op for specific, we'll say 8 to 12, and then 12 to 4, Monday through Friday. And so if you have to go run errands, you can drop your kids. It's just open. You drop your kids off at that person's house and you have to pay them. So if you run out of money, then that means you have to babysit or watch these kids a whole bunch of times so that you can earn some money to be able to do it again. But I will tell you, because I was a single mom for a while, that got me through a few times in some pretty bad spots. And my kids got to go play with different friends. So they're learning skills, and then then you get to know the neighborhood kids as well. So if anybody's thinking, I don't have anybody, I don't know how to do that, consider this co-op. Like start one in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent advice. I mean, I didn't have that when my kids were young. And yes, I was a single mom as well. I think from the time they were 5 and 3. And that's why I look back and I'm like, how did I do everything I did? And I certainly did it the harder way because I didn't think of the co-op. And so I'm just speaking from experience. That's not the best route to go. And you can definitely, you can delegate in business and as well as you delegate in your personal life. Find the people that you trust, the experts that you trust, and use those experts, use those resources to help you so that you're not doing it all by yourself. And you'll be so much better at the things that you do, right? If you're not trying to do it all and do it all by yourself.
And you'll have more time for your family as well.
Yes. And you won't be, and it's better health-wise. Like I destroyed my health, to be honest, just from stress, just trying to deal with stress. And I was putting the stress on myself by doing all of this by myself. And it's definitely the harder route to go.
Well, Well, Teresa, it has been a delight to talk with you. So thank you for being vulnerable and opening up, but also teaching us about this really important CFO position that you have. And so if our listeners wanted to find you because they're thinking, that's me, that's my business, I need some help, how would they find you?
So I have a website and it's higher up, cfoservices.com. And that's higher as in higher profits and cash flow. I do free financial assessments on any business. I like to talk to business owners, so you can book a call with me, and I'd love to hear about your business. There's so many cool, things going on and people doing really interesting businesses out there, which I think are fun to learn about. I love to learn about these new businesses. I also have a learning center page on my website. So if you want to learn more about cash flow and managing cash flow or cash flow forecasting, you can learn more about that on there and even do it yourself. I have a cash flow forecasting tool that if you want to book a call to, I'd be happy to show you how to use it. And you can use it in your personal finances and in your business.
That is so great. Thank you.
Of course. I greatly enjoyed talking with you as well. And I hope I was able to shed some light on or get some helpful hints, if you will, to the moms with kids that are trying to run their business as well.
You absolutely did. Absolutely. So thank you so much for being on.
Yes, thank you.
And moms, being a mom is fantastic. And so you have to decide what that looks like for you and be comfortable with it. And don't worry about what anybody else says. It's just you, your children, and your family. And if you are thinking, you know what, I do need to be able to figure out my cash flow and I do need some direction and guidance, then reach out to Teresa and the link will be below. And if you find this helpful, then please like and subscribe and share and go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.